Hi all, it's Tina from Artisan Savon. I'm sorry I haven't posted a video in a while. Between cameras and laptops, I've had so many issues with technology lately, which has prevented me from being able to record and upload and even edit videos. But we're back in the swing of things now, hopefully for a while. And I'm not even making soap today because, you know, the weather's getting a bit cooler. I'm able to bring some of my product lines back, and so today we will be making body soufflés, which is basically a whipped body butter that is really light and really airy, that it has almost like a moussey souffle kind of texture. It goes on your skin really light, but it does moisturize for a few hours, so your skin's left feeling really soft and supple for a while. Generally best applied to your body either just before you go to bed or directly after a shower while your skin's still really warm. Because it is so light and it has lots of like meltable butters in it, it does just basically melt on contact with your skin's natural body temperature, so you know, it's not so bad. So what I've got, if you can see in front of you, I have in this container here, I have already pre-melted my coconut oil and my cocoa butter. You can see over here I have my shea butter. In these little containers down the front I have apricot kernel oil, I have some rice bran oil, and I have cornstarch. You know, apricot kernel oil is a nice light oil, really absorbs well into your skin quickly, it doesn't clog your pores, it's a really great light oil. You could even use this in a lotion for your face. The rice bran oil is added because it has great vitamin E content, and rice has great properties for your skin also. The cornstarch is added to sort of take away that greasy feeling. You know, when you've got stuff like coconut oil and shea butter, they can be, you know, a little bit greasy feeling, but that's what the sorry, I can't speak today. That's what the cornstarch is there for, is to take away that greasiness. So I've just melted these. It's not completely fluid. I've still got, if you can see, I've got 1 or 2 lumps of cocoa butter. I don't like to melt it until it's like super hot, because you burn all the oils, and I don't want to burn the oils. I want to keep the lovely nourishing skin properties in there. Oh sorry, I want to keep the properties in there that nourish the skin. So I melt it for a little while and then I'll let it sit, and hopefully the residual heat will then melt the rest of the cocoa butter. And then once I've got this completely melted and no lumps, etc., I'm going to add in my shea butter. And I will come back when I've added my shea butter and it's melted and we're ready to add the other ingredients. Okay, so as you can see, we have our shea butter added in here now. I haven't melted it yet. I'm just going to sort of let it sit in here, and again let the residual heat sort of soften it a bit, and then I will go and heat it up to try and melt the rest, like the bigger chunks in there. As I said before, I've sort of waited for the cooler weather to come back to start with our butters again and our soufflés, etc. This is mainly because when we make them, we also don't add a preservative, because it's an anhydrous, I don't know how to say it, but it's an anhydrous product, aka it means it has no waters, etc. added to it. It's purely all butters, all oils, etc. So technically, by that meaning, it doesn't technically need, it doesn't actually need a preservative, but it does need to be used within a short time frame. Aside from that, because it is so light and it does have a lot of soft butters and oils in it, if it's made in summer, in our hot desert Aussie summer weather, it melts. Unless you've got it in an air conditioned room or wherever, something like that. Generally I find I lose way too much product once it's made because of the heat here. So, and it's fine to use once it's melted, but it doesn't hold that nice fluffy moussey texture that it would if it was kept cool. And you know, I'm doing market stalls. I don't have it in my own store. I'm out there in the sun all day in market stalls in a little gazebo, and you know, the sun gets on it and I can't help it, stop it from melting. So, and I've tried to sort of take it in an esky or an ice chest and then do it that way, but sometimes it still melts. So I figured it was easier just to sort of keep it as a winter product. And you know, your skin sort of really dries out in the winter anyway, so it's kind of perfect for that. I do make it on requests during the warmer months. If someone really wants it, I can, you know, make it up for like a container at a time or whatever. That's not a problem. But I just won't take it to markets with me, etc. in the warmer months, because, you know, you go to a market, you take 15 jars with you, and you lose those 15 jars or whatever before you even get a chance to sell them, because, you know, by 8 o'clock in the morning it's already 30 degrees Celsius, and yeah, it's just not worth it from a business point of view to sort of take it with me to markets in the warmer months. So anyway, this has sort of had a chance to sit. It's sort of started to melt a bit, and I'm just going to help it along now by warming it through, and I shall bring you back when it's nice and fluid. Okay, so we're back now, and if you can see, I have melted my shea butter into my coconut oil and my cocoa butter mixture. And if you have a look, you can still see that I have lumps of shea butter. Now again, the same as what I did with the cocoa butter, I don't want to melt it till it's completely liquid, because it's going to get so hot, and especially with shea butter, if you heat it up too much, it's going to go grainy, and you don't want any grainy texture in a body butter, or really in anything sort of that you want to apply directly to your skin. So yeah, just a tip, don't heat it up too much. So all that residual heat that's in this bowl from, you know, all the melted parts will melt that slowly. So then we'll get a nice smooth body butter. I've got my little whisk here. That's why it's a bit bubbly, because I was using a whisk to sort of make sure I'm getting those lumps well incorporated and melted. And I think we're pretty much there. I'm just dredging the bottom to make sure there's no more in there. And there's not. So this would probably be body temperature, I believe. It's not too hot. It's just warm. But it was just warm enough to melt my oils and keep them fluid so that I can add my other ingredients. Now, as I said to you, we've got apricot kernel oil here. We have rice bran oil here. And we have cornstarch here. Now what I've done is, while this was melting, I've taken a bit of my apricot kernel oil and mixed it in with my cornstarch. Just instead of trying to add a powder to my oils and have lumps and stuff mixed through, I've pre-mixed it in the oil, and it should be nice and fluid, and any little lumps that may come up will definitely disperse a lot easier in here. So you can see it's nice and fluid, and then we just pour that in. Now, it may still have a lump or two, but because it's already pre-mixed, those are going to disperse quite easily. So, we'll just get the rest of that in there. Now, I don't leave anything behind. Alright, so there's our cornstarch added in. We'll make sure we get any lumps out that may be in there before we add anything else. And I think we did a really good job mixing, because I'm not seeing anything float to the top, and generally your lumps will float to the top. So nice mix to make sure that we've got everything in there. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and add the rice bran oil. Just tap this off. Alright, so there's our rice bran oil in. You only need a tiny amount. You could use pure vitamin E oil in the capsules and just break them in there until you've got the amount you'd like. I prefer rice bran oil because it's not just purely vitamin E. It also has other skin nourishing properties. So it's moisturizing. It's a lot like olive oil, but it's also got some starches and stuff in there as well. So that's why I add that in. I just mix that through, and then we'll add our last ingredient, which will be our apricot kernel oil. And really, when it comes to body butters, you can add anything in it you like. Any butters, like if you prefer mango butter or avocado butter, or you know, anything you want to add in there. Coconut butter. It's up to you, really. This is just what I like and what I've sort of practiced for a while. And you know, I made a lot of lousy butters before I finally came up with this recipe. But you know, that's all what it's about, I guess, in this industry, is trial and error, and then finding what works for you personally and what you like. Alright, so now we're going to add our apricot kernel oil in. And then once we've got all this in and we've got all these oils incorporated together, we are going to set this aside and just leave it to firm up to like a balm texture. So it's basically going to cool down and it will set up a bit, kind of like a very soft shea butter texture. And then once it's at that right consistency, we will whip it up. Welcome back. Now I actually wish I'd brought you back like literally 2 minutes earlier. This 2 minutes earlier was liquid, right? All I did between that 2 minutes and now is stir. And obviously the stirring must have activated something and it went cool. So now this is what we're left with. Doesn't want to come off, I'll get it off in a minute. But anyway, let me get my spatula. Are you still in camera? Right, so this is what we're left with, which is like a buttery, soft, see how quickly it melts on your skin? My hands are clean, by the way. It's literally like a Vaseline texture, I guess. It's really soft. It's got all those beautiful oils in there. And yeah, so this is the consistency we wanted it. And we're just going to take a nice big chunk out. I'll measure it out into another bowl. I will get my my beaters and stuff ready, and then I will show you the whipping process. I'll be back in a sec. So what I'm going to do is I am going to whip this up, and I will show you what it's like once it's all whipped, and it will grow in volume. As I said, it starts off like a Vaseline kind of consistency, or a bit firmer than Vaseline, melts straight on contact with your skin, but to give it that light, fluffy, airy texture, we have to whip some air into it. So let's get started. And you pretty much want to whip this until it like maybe doubles, even more than doubles in size. So anyway. Making sure to stop every now and then and scrape down your sides. Now if I had a, pardon me, if I had a stand mixer, this would be 100 times easier, but I don't, so I have to do it the, well, not the old-fashioned way, I'd be using a hand beater, but you know, I have to stop and start, but that's okay, it's all part of the process. Look, I know I'm stopping and starting, but before I go on, I'm not sure if you can see this. I always think I can't pick it up on the camera, and then I find when I watch the video back, it actually does show. So I'm going to attempt to show you. If you can see it, you can see it looks a little bit grainy. So once you've got it to the right consistency, this little bit of graininess that you can see, it shouldn't be there. It should be nice and smooth and fluffy. So it's not just going to double in size, but the texture will also change. Do another scrape down. You can already see that that texture is changing, and obviously the colour changed because it's whipping. Stir it back down my sides. Back to the pan. Alright, so I've got all over my hands. It's a little bit of a messy process with a hand beater and using a tiny bowl. I really recommend using a bigger bowl. But, alright, so what you can see now, get some good light in there. Alright, so you can probably see, I'm not sure if you can see the graininess is gone. It's literally just like, where's my finger? Moussey and just really soft and beautiful. So that's really what you're after. So that's exactly the texture we're going for. It's just light and fluffy and moussey, and it's just like silky and soft, and I could go on all about you know, I could go on all day about how good it is, but yeah, it just goes on like a mousse. That's way too much. That would do your whole arm. I'm just showing you how it goes on, and then it will just melt in. But obviously I've put, you know, a whole heap, way too much there, so I'm going to rub half of that off. But that's the texture you're going for. And I'll be back and we will pipe it into our jars. Okay, so you've seen us whip it up. I've now just popped it into this little Glad bag, lunch bag, whatever, just sort of to make mess-free piping into my bag. I've tried doing it, well, not tried, but I have done it with using the spatula method, where you just spoon it in and tap and spoon it in and tap and etc, etc, and I just find the top of my jar gets really messy and horrible, and it's just more work to clean up and I'm wasting product. So piping in I find to be the best method. Now, because you've got warm hands, what I'm going to do is I have a microfiber cloth here. It's a little bit old, but I promise you it's clean. And I'm going to wrap that around to hopefully stop the product melting while I'm trying to pipe it in my jars. And all I'm going to do is, and I've got air bubbles in here, so you might get a little fart sound or a pop pop sound when we get to an air pocket. I'm just going to pipe it into my jars. Now, these have been sterilised. As I said, sterilise it, clean it, etc, etc. They are technically a 200ml jar, 250ml jar I believe. But with this, because it's got a lot of volume rather than it's more weight, it takes up room. So you get about 100 grams in this. I always go a bit over because I like my net weight to be always a minimum of 100 grams. So hopefully I've got this on a decent angle. If not, you'll see the finished product anyway. All I'm going to do is squeeze it in there, and I will tap it down periodically because I do want to get all of my product in there. So I just pipe that in. That's 80 grams now. You'll see we'll only get about 100 grams max in there. Or we might get 100 grams. We will definitely get 100 grams. Just takes a bit of tapping, and it doesn't knock the air out of the product. It just knocks the space out of the center so that we can get more in. Alright, so I probably wouldn't want to go much more than that purely because I don't want the product sticking to the lid. That's at 105 grams now. You can see there's no spaces in there. I've tapped it down so the center has no spaces in the middle. That's full. So that's ready to go, and I just whack my hand in it. That's ready to go now. So that's it. That's how I make my my body soufflés.